Welcome, Sunday
Hey,
night.
happy Sunday, Ruben. How you doing?
Happy Sunday, Mark D. I'm doing well. It's been a very busy week since I can't believe it's been a week since we spoke already, but it's been another busy week, and we're here in November.
That's right. I had to ask myself, did we do a Friday night this week? I was like, no, we didn't. We didn't. It was last Sunday. That's unbelievable. Happy Halloween, or if you celebrate
Thank
something
you.
else. I'm not educated enough to know. I know there's a Irish celebration at this month this weekend. Is that true? Do you know that?
I'm just learning of this through you.
That's right.
Happy, well, I think you did Halloween in your house
We
this
did.
weekend. So happy Halloween to you and your family. Did you did you actually go trick or treating? Was that the protocol where you are? How was Halloween for you this year?
Yes, my partner took our kids out for a little jaunt around the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Everybody
Nice.
practicing distancing, and there was so many fireworks in our neighborhood. It was crazy. I think there's a little bit of offset to people probably compensating since they weren't going out for Halloween. It was a Saturday, so maybe the younger folk who normally would go out on the weekend and also on Halloween, it's a pretty big night normally.
Well,
Yeah,
where
and then
you live, Halloween fireworks has become sort of a tradition. That's one of the few times people are allowed, if not the only time every year that they're allowed to launch fireworks in the city. Is that right? So it's also sort of for that reason, but it was even bigger this year, you mean?
that's correct. Yeah. Oh, it was like
Wow.
probably 10 times the amount of fireworks than normal. And it's usually a lot. So it was pretty crazy. Now, this is another
Wow.
thing, though, little or not little known fact, and perhaps this was playing into it. Last year, a fireworks in Vancouver. Apparently, there was a council motion to change that. So, I mean, hey, that makes sense. That's why people are probably shooting off as many as they can.
Yeah, probably a mixture of, shooting off the effects of isolation somewhat
That's
and
right.
trying to get everything off this year. And it's also the last year to do it. They're not going to have the sales next year. Now, I remember when I was out there, every year it almost seemed without failure, there was someone who got blinded by fireworks, who was, someone passing by on a street. There was some pretty dangerous stuff from fireworks over the years. So, and they're not great for the environment. Who are we kidding? But
Oh,
it's
yeah.
sometimes fun to see.
Absolutely.
It's a nice celebratory thing. And I think we're all looking for ways to burn off some steam right now in some aspects.
Never hurts to blow shit up. I mean that.
Right.
I mean that makes most people feel better, whether we want to admit it or not. Let's blow some shit up. We'll feel better.
That's right. A little pyromania never hurt anyone until you're hurt by it.
Am I am I allowed to swear on this show? Is that okay?
You are your own censor, so I
Okay,
think
great.
I want authenticity. So I think
Yeah, I can't
we
hide it
can
then.
go
I mean, I
with
can do it
those
without swearing,
languages.
but once in a while.
Yeah, once in a while, where let's just I think the part of the beauty of this is we should be talking like we just would be if we were grabbing coffee at a cafe and others are having the opportunity to just listen in.
That's right.
And hopefully we're going a little deeper than one would in a cafe at times, but
I don't know. We've had some pretty deep coffee conversations, Ruben.
that's true. That's true. And not only was it Halloween last night and a night of fire, I commented yesterday, funny enough, because we're not there and we used to live where you live, Mark,
Right.
that I was actually relieved having dogs that we don't have the fireworks going
Oh,
off
no
where we
doubt.
are last night. It was always a night of stress for those with pets.
They're anxious. Yeah.
Yeah, very anxious, and it would go. I lived right in the heart of the city, so it was going off every year. But I imagine this year
All
was
night
even
long.
crazier. Yeah, all night.
Yeah, we
And
were the same
usually
way
for a
three
few
years
days leading
ago.
up. Yeah, and
That's
before.
right. And a couple, maybe a day or two after even.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we had a sleeping baby that we had just got to bed, like, pretty early. And then it's like, oh, God, is he going to wake up all night long? But
Yeah. Oh, right. And you're
same
like,
thing.
yeah. Every time you hear one go off.
Kind of makes me want to blow shit up. But anyway.
And I was thinking how far it was from this time last year. I was there with my friend's daughter, who I've known her whole life, so sort of like a niece to me. And we were in Las Vegas celebrating her 16th birthday. We went to Marilyn Manson on Halloween,
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Palms last year. This day last year, November 1st, I was having the buffet at Caesar's Palace. It's a very
How,
large, I think it's the world's
how
largest
grand.
buffet. How grand. It was an all you can eat crab and lobster extravaganza.
Chicken fingers.
Quite a
Oh, sick.
departure. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I call an
I'm
amateur
highfalutin.
move. That's
I'm
an amateur
highfalutin.
move. Yeah, right. And what else did we do? Oh, we went to the Neon Museum in Vegas that had a Tim Burton exhibit on. So they had some of the action things from Mars Attacks there at the Neon
Oh,
Museum.
right on.
And I'm glad I did it then because it feels, you got, which just goes to show you want to take advantage of these things or, life when the opportunities present themselves because, who knew where we would be a year later. Definitely not celebrating Halloween at the Palms with Marilyn Manson and then indulging in a buffet. I think all of those things are banned. Even though Vegas is open, you still couldn't do any of that.
No doubt.
Or would you
I
want
want to
to?
ask those who are listening. We got a couple on Twitch and Periscope,
Mm.
someone on Facebook. When you go to a buffet, what's your favorite item? Drop it in the chat. I want to hear about that. We're all kind of fantasizing about normal world, and hey, let's be honest, I'm a big buffet fan, so you brought it up there, Ruben. But looking back, you mentioned you went to a concert for Halloween. We did the same thing this year, except
Oh,
we did it at home. So my stepson, big fan of a musician named Devin Townsend. His dad got online with us. We watched a virtual concert, and my partner was like, "Oh, hey," to our little one, "Hey, it's your first concert," and we were like, "Yay!" And then I had this kind of weird sinky feeling for 1 second, just like, oh, it's
yeah.
online. Oh, how do I feel about that? But then I realized it's okay. It's a big moment. It's one of his biggest his favorite bands, and he did an amazing job. He had full green screen. He had pre-recorded himself playing each of the instruments. Absolutely great show. And when you hit a live show afterwards, it'll blow your mind anyway. So really good experience, but totally different world, right? We're in this different world. So yeah, I didn't see anyone talking about what their favorite buffet is, but let me know here in the chat. I want to hear what your item is. What do you do, Ruben? What's yours? Is it just straight to the lobster?
It's usually the seafood. I'm all about getting, top dollar value from a good buffet. So
That's
crab
right.
legs,
That's smart.
lobster, seafood. I was in Louisiana in February. That blows my mind as well. Just like, wow, the fact that I was doing that. And then suddenly I wasn't. But I was in Louisiana for work, and I was actually working at a casino. So
Oh,
I did the buffet there the first night. I think in February, it was mid-February, and I had a lot of crab. And I'm happy I did it because I didn't know at the time that was going to be. And I also went to my favorite breakfast place that does a beautiful Sunday brunch buffet. I think the first week of March. And I had some friends visiting, and that was the last bit of visitors we hosted, and the last buffet I had. So I do miss, it's funny. There's something I love on occasion about the gluttony of a buffet. And it also is the privilege of the buffet, just the fact that
that's
we
right.
have
It's
so
like
much and
sort of
the
like the
excess.
bounty of it, right?
Yeah, right. No, exactly. And so I miss some of those things, but I also try and make up for it at home. Sometimes we do a lot of, nice cheese and meat sort of platters, do the whole charcuterie thing. And, we try and make it, special occasions at home. And I had some big news this week
Oh yeah.
professionally. So I don't want to spill the beans yet. But the things that had been causing me anxiety the other weeks where it actually didn't happen, and I got very good news, the news that I was hoping for, but the news that I mentally was wanting, but also I was preparing for the worst outcome, also, wanting the best, but also trying to mentally prepare for possible disappointment. But I didn't get that. I beat out a lot of people for something I was really wanting, and I will fall for
Congratulations.
that. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you. I'm very excited for what that means. So,
And aside from the opportunity and the gain and what it says about you and all that, which is really amazing and really deeply satisfying in these times of different world, it's something to look forward to. It just gives you that long term kind of like look forward thing. So
It
that's a really
it
nice thing,
did,
right?
especially because professionally for so long I was in a good place, but I wasn't necessarily in an excited place, and I'm feeling that again, and that's a really good feeling. And I feel so fortunate to have had the opportunity that I've had for the last while to get me to this place. And then
Awesome.
of course, what kicks in once you're offered something, imposter syndrome and all of those things, those good feelings. But all those are also very temporary. Those are fleeting for me because I know that I was selected for a reason. I also know of my worth and experience and what I'd be bringing. but that's, I think, a natural part of process is self-doubt and all of those things.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
I did go there, and I acknowledged that I was going there in my own head as it was happening. So that's an important part of my own process, going, no, don't do that. I know what's happening right now. You are the experienced professional that they are bringing in. That is not there's no shadow of a doubt about that, and there's a reason they selected you for this over X other people. And I was mostly just trying to relish it. It was such good news that came on Friday that it really didn't even hit me till Saturday, in the sense of, like, when you get that really good news, the news you'd been waiting for, and it was, in this case, weeks. And it was quite a process that I was going, oh, it's actually happening. And I beat out all these people, which it's not a competition, but there was so many people. It was just the sheer unlikelihood of even getting noticed right now. Everything's so competitive, certainly in the job space. A lot of people looking for work, a lot of people have work and want something new.
I want to
This
ask.
time has
I just want to.
identified all sorts of things for people. Yeah.
I just want to ask if anybody watching has something they're looking forward to. What's their positive carrot moving forward? What if anyone wants to drop a line in there? I really love the perspective you're putting on that, Ruben. I love. It's not just about I won something I wanted. It's
No, but you
about
had to have that reality that
categorizing.
you actually,
Yeah.
yeah, you did actually. It wasn't about beating others, because that's not what it's about. I don't know who the other people were, but I know that there was a huge amount of interest, more than there normally would be. And there's something that was recognized by both what I had submitted originally and then how I spoke throughout the process and what I presented. And that felt good. That felt good in a time of huge competition. Just to be recognized for your work and experience is a good feeling. And then it did take a day to hit. But I loved your question, Mark, because I actually asked another friend who's going through a bit of a tough time right now the same question this weekend. I said, well, okay, that is what it is currently, but what is the next thing you're looking forward to? And even if it's not tangible, it might be, in this case, it was them taking the kids to the zoo on the next day off.
Oh yeah.
And, when is the next day off? We're not sure. Sometime in the next couple of weeks. It's, working all the time right now, but just to have that on the horizon. It doesn't have to be even so like next Tuesday we're doing this. It could be, I know that we want to do this the next day off. And I thought that was just such a good thing. And it's funny how they even recognized as soon as they said it, that it was that reshifting of all of these stresses, all the responsibilities to, oh, I do have a thing that I'm looking
Right.
forward to doing. And that, moment of respite from my day-to-day and pressures and responsibilities and all of that.
Jacob in Facebook chat going probably long term here, I think. I can't wait to host a house party. That sounds like a ton of fun. And actually, I know for a fact personally that with Jacob, that is a lot of fun. I wonder how long it'll be. Jacob, how long do you think you can wait to host a house party? I guess it's indefinite because, doggone it, if you want to do it, you're going to do it eventually, right?
It is a good one, though, Mark, because, it's funny. I'm never been as an artist who dresses in costume, doing sketch and things the rest of the year. Halloween was always my thing that I'm like, it's for the rest of them, the rest that don't have the opportunity to dress up the rest of the year
Right.
as part of their creative process. It's for the kids to, get out there and be weird and different.
And it was great.
Can express. And I think it was good that they were able to do it. And it was easy to do in many communities, keeping distance. But as an adult, this was the first year that I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't mind if, like, obviously not with everything going on, but I did miss, like, a good adult Halloween party where a bunch of adults are dressing up. And normally I'd be like, oh, really? It's not my thing. This year I would have enjoyed it. And, when we're ready to do it, I will be the first one at the party in costume. So Josh, send me an invite when you're ready.
Nice. Jacob. And he
Jacob,
says,
sorry.
that's okay. He says it's he can wait. It's just something he misses, being with a bunch of people, not being worried about physical closeness. Yeah, that's another. I mean, that's a whole big, huge human aspect, right? Just even thinking about stepping back from someone all the time, or not turning, not touching, not hugging, not holding someone's arm, not reaching out and slapping someone on the back when they tell a good or bad joke. I certainly miss slaps on the back when I tell bad jokes. Absolutely, especially from Jacob. Yeah, so that's a whole different, that's not just about the event, that's about a different mindset too, right? So that's something to look forward as well, like just kind of moving forward towards that. Really good. Thanks for pointing that out, Jacob. I
That's
really
a
appreciate
great
that.
example. That's something, again, not so tangible because we don't know, but I like that it's something still a concrete thing that we can be looking forward to. That's, yeah, I look forward to that as well. And fingers crossed it'll be sooner rather than later.
Yeah, something we don't have to wait for any longer. A little segue here. Time change. That was another thing that happened this weekend, not just Halloween. I used to love Halloween weekend when there was like when I went out dancing because the time change would often happen the night you went out. So
Oh,
it's like, woohoo, got
yes.
an extra hour. This year a little bit different, obviously, but it happened. Definitely noticed a difference. The kids are affected by it. I got to sleep an extra hour. There's all kinds of different things around that, but I think that it does affect people, especially on the West Coast here. I think, at least in Vancouver, it's going to be darker much sooner. I think there's going to be that feeling of fall, that kind of SAD kind of effect. How you doing? How you feeling? What are you thinking about the next couple of weeks
Well,
here
as a
as we go into that?
farmer, I appreciate the time. No, I'm not a farmer.
There you
It's
go.
huge inconvenience. I work an office job and it's really structured. So I wake up at the same time every day. It means that it won't be dark likely when I wake up now, which
Right.
I actually sort of like the morning darkness and then seeing the sunrise. That's going to change. And I liked that it was sun was out till about 6:30. Now it's out till about 5:30 immediately. That's the next day immediate shift. But it's tough. I mean, I know I slept more last night than I usually do. I'm normally a bit of an early riser. I think I woke up around 5 or 6. Something screwed up with my whole internal clock, and then I slept in for another few hours, which is something I rarely, if ever, can do. But it's hard. We change into the seasons, and the days are darker, the days are darker and they're much shorter. The nights are much
Yeah.
longer.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Even if it's an hour initially, it feels much darker suddenly. It's a very abrupt shift. And I think
And we're going to a couple months of it. It's not just like,
Oh, right. Yeah, it's not
yeah.
just you got to deal with it for a week and we're back.
Yeah, that's right. It's like, I'll get through this.
Right. And it's also the time when so many of us are struggling already with our mental health due to that isolation
Yeah.
and everything else. So, with all of that being said, what are some habits or things we can tangibly do to improve our life and situations during the winter, but more importantly over the next week as we adjust to these time changes?
Yeah, the adjustment piece, right?
Yeah.
So I guess,
Yeah.
how does it work? I'm going to be getting out of work when it's dark. Is that right? I can't remember even. I try to like
What
block
time
it
do you
out every year.
usually finish?
Around 4:30, let's say.
Oh, yeah.
Not
It's going to
quite,
be
but
dark, if
soon.
not quite dark.
Yeah.
It'll be like getting dark versus
So then,
full sun
will it
still.
be lighter in the morning? I guess if it wasn't raining, it will be. That's another thing. We got fall coming, right? So going to go back to focusing on things to look forward to and the positive aspects. But we also want to acknowledge that we're going to have to deal with this whether we want to or not.
That's right. That's
Excuse me.
right.
So yeah. So it's like, what can we do? What kind of things are you doing? I'm
Well,
already
I've been changing the
starting.
clocks in my house. No, I'm kidding.
It's just wait till somebody
I guess
complains at work.
that's not a doing. That's an inaction. That's not
That's
an
right.
action.
Avoidance.
That's not true. I'm actually the opposite. I'm the one that first thing when you get up the next day, you're changing the microwave and you're changing the
Absolutely.
stove and the coffee maker. I'm two on it. I need to immediately. I had that weird moment when I had one clock in my office that I didn't change. I'm like, what? It's 10 something? And it's like, no, it was 9 something. But I had to change it right away. But what are some things we really need to do as we change the seasons? Well, for me, I'm naturally moved to a more sloth mode.
Yeah.
The weather gets colder and the days are darker. I have to force myself to be more active. That doesn't mean necessarily a workout. It just means you have to get outside more, have that longer walk with the dog, get that time outside. That's so important, I think. But, getting physical just to get your heart rate up is a good thing too. The endorphins that pumps into your body, you can't get that through synthetic methods.
That's right.
That is something that your body wants.
Coffee only goes so far.
You.
It doesn't take it doesn't actually have the physical benefits. It just gets you through the moment.
That's right. And I miss those. Sleep right now, I think, so important. If you normally were going to bed at 11 or midnight and waking up at 7, make that adjustment. Don't keep going to bed at midnight. Try to go to bed.
That's right.
And don't also think that now because you went to bed at midnight, you can still go to bed at midnight because that's 1.
All
according
right,
to
so I'm
you.
gonna walk to work,
Yeah, right. While sleeping to
go to
try and
bed
get
early.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you won't walk to work if you don't go to bed early. I mean, I know that for a fact. That's a personal experience piece I'll share with everybody.
You're right. Yeah,
That's
it's
right.
so true. But how do we make those adjustments? Because I find it's easy in theory to say go to bed early, but how do I actually go to bed so I'm sleeping early? Which means that if I want to be asleep by 10:30, guess what? I'm not in bed at 10:30. That's not going
That's
to get
right.
me to sleep till probably well after 11. I actually have to go to bed probably at 9:45. First 15 minutes is just settling in, reading, but also get rid of your phone. If you sleep beside your phone, don't
Mm.
sleep beside your phone. Put a book, put a magazine, something that's non-screen based, because you want
Turn on night
to.
mode
Oh yeah, night.
early in the
Well,
afternoon, early in the evening
yeah, you mean on the actual screen to
on the
get some of
screen.
those
Yeah.
more warmer colors and a
Yep.
bit dimmer of a note for sure. But I think just like we did earlier, we need to set some goals going into this season because without some goals, not that I'm going to work out over the course of the winter and beef up. Great, if that's your goal, great. It doesn't have to be so concrete though. I think just having some goals by the end of the year, by spring, and it could just be like, hey, I'm going to organize the closet that I've been putting off. It doesn't have to be major life goals here. We can just incrementally introduce things, and some of them can be things you're looking forward to. It could be a list of just hey. Like Jacob said, I want to do the house party. Host a house party. Doesn't mean we're hosting one right now, but remember that and revisit that list and change it.
That's
And then
right.
there's
I
going to
like
be a
that.
lot of
Revisit the list. I like that.
yeah, yeah, and I think just having the goals are important. So much of it, though, as we go into the slower season, is we can be lazy. My sloth-like, as I mentioned, behavior can come out. We can't let our diet become sloth-like, although we should, because
Mm.
sloth's actually pretty healthy. But in
That's
the
not fair
sense
to the
of
sloths.
yeah, it's not fair to the sloth. That was
Don't
discriminatory to
stereotype them.
sloths. Yeah,
And you know what? The
but
comfort food in the fall is the tough one. I can say
oh, it
very
is. It is. I
very
made peanut butter
honestly.
cookies last weekend and ate them all in a day and a half. But like, I was gonna say a day, and I'm like, wait, it was a day and a half. Still not a proud moment. Very comforting though.
Very good. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Over the day and a half versus just one day, so that's okay. I'm gonna ask a chat. Hey, anybody online here? What is your biggest challenge with the fall or time change? Drop it in the comments here. We'll ask you about it. See a few people on YouTube and anyone on Facebook there. Just curious what you're challenged with. I got a list here. It's one of those internet lists. We love those, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just ways to stay motivated. So you mentioned lists. I like lists. I'm very good at lists.
Yeah,
I don't
lists are
seem like a
great.
list person, but I have a notepad at every corner at work, and then I combine the notepads at the end of the day if I didn't finish
Physical
stuff.
notepads.
Actual physical notepads. I'm
I
old school.
look at me. I have one notebook here. This was
There you
my
go.
work notebook. This is what I write work stuff. This is my personal hobbies notebook.
Oh, okay.
And then I have one for my side projects over here. And then this is my pocket notebook.
Oh, geez. Okay, you got me beat. I
really-
think I have 3 notepads, but mine
I'm
are
not
just
proud of it.
old
This is
school
I'm become a
line
notebook
flippers.
hoarder. Yeah. Oh, those are good too with the coil.
Not even like a notepad. It's not even a book. I should say pad. You're right.
Like an architect.
Just like flip it over, jot them down, use 1 page a day, combine them into one book at the end of the day. I got a spiral one that I combine them all into. But I think it's great. I go back to it. You know what I don't do, what I think I should do, and I would like to see, I think more people, this is sort of one of those cliche things that they say to do. Write a list of things you're grateful for and go back to it. And then that will help you out. And people don't do it. I wish we should. I wish we would. I think more people should be able to do that.
We know someone that's actually behind a Kickstarter right now I want to promote because
That's
I think
right.
it's very
Okay.
much in line with what we're talking about tonight.
That's right.
And I think maybe I'd like to put up a link for it. Maybe we can throw it into the comments. I was an early supporter. I think their Kickstarter is still live. They're called Hemlock and Oak. Hemlock, not like the toxic plant, hemlock like the tree.
Right.
And it's a planner for 2021 that is a little, I think, quite a bit different than traditional planners in terms of goal setting. Beautifully bound. I think they're delivering them in December. So I'm pretty excited about receiving mine and what that means for setting goals this winter. So I'm going to actually, I think, throw the link in the Facebook thread to see if we can...
I'm actually going to send it until the
there
other
we go.
We didn't intend to make a plug, but now we have.
Yeah,
Good.
no,
And
it made sense. It kind of
it's
aligned.
Canadian sourced. It's all natural.
Canadian made too, I
Yeah,
believe.
Canadian.
They're
That's what I meant.
printed
Yeah,
there.
sorry.
Yeah.
Just I noticed Jacob said dog was crying for breakfast this morning when I overslept due to the time change. Oh, there was an effect right there.
Oh yeah.
Winter is tough, not eating all the sweets and comfort foods. Yeah, that's definitely one of the challenges for me as well. I hear you, Jacob.
We're getting
And
into American Thanksgiving here in a couple weeks in November. That's like really the Kickstarter to the holidays, and that's when it's all the good pecan pies are coming out, and chocolate pecan pie is my weakness.
oh, really?
It's my kryptonite is chocolate pecan pie. But all of those really good, hearty winter foods that I like so much. So I also need to make sure I have some really good healthy snacks on hand.
I love beets, actually. Beets and yams are my favorite, roasted beets
Oh
and yams.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. I used to do a really good. I learned how to make beets when I started growing beets. I grew a lot of heirloom beets when I had a community garden. And if I was where I'm at now earlier this year, I probably would have done a big vegetable garden as well. But it was by the time I got on the Let's Grow food wagon this year, it was too late in the season. So hopefully I can maybe get started on that in the late winter, early
talking
spring,
about
get the seedlings.
talking about the food and the gardening.
That's something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, and takes me back to the what can we do list. So things we can do. Stay busy. Don't get sucked into the slothiness, as you mentioned, the watching shows and comfort food only. I'm definitely guilty of that.
There's going to be a lot of that here in America this week.
Yeah, no doubt.
This is the week of comfort food in America because this is a stressful week.
That's right. Yeah, no doubt. Keep busy, right? The lists help you through things. I think about prepping, when it comes to beets and sweet potatoes, chopping those up and having things ready for the week. We need to do more of that at home here too with the kids.
Meal prep.
Prep.
I have
Yeah,
some
it's a
friends
great
that
way
do
to go on.
great work with that. Yeah.
That's right. And so, keeping busy, that's another great way to keep yourself out of the SAD, the seasonal affective disorder. So it's a great way to go with those.
What's your favorite snack to have around?
Jacob saying had a great couple of crops this year. So Jacob actually has a business. Jacob, feel free to put it into the chat here, your Facebook page. No problem with the plug there for it. And also all healthy stuff. Beets are my favorite. I gotta be honest, for snacks, if you're talking healthy snacks.
Healthy snacks. I'm sure
probably
we all
so
have our
bad.
crap snacks.
I know I'm probably so bad at crap with crap snacks that I don't have that many healthy things I like. So I'm a big fan of like vegetable sticks, but like even that, I kind of like to dip with it, like a ranch dressing or a blue cheese dressing. So that's probably a veggie sticks would be one of my top ones for healthy.
That's good. That's a good one.
Yeah. I think that's. What about you?
Well, I'm lucky. We do a lot of we have a lot of homemade tzatziki on hand with like fresh dill and cucumber, which is really hydrating. But you can use all sorts of lower fat yogurts when you're making that, so it doesn't have to be as fatty as it would be if you bought it in the store. To be
yogurt, that's good.
Great. Yeah, yogurt's great. I do a lot of early in the morning. I'm not super hungry, but it's good to train my stomach to eat just to get something in there. So usually I do some yogurt and granola, Greek yogurt and some granola. And then I try and monitor my snacking. The best thing for me is to make sure that I have my meals regularly so much that I don't need snacks. That's actually the better thing. Most of what I'm wanting when I'm snacking is I'm not admitting that it's been too long since I've had a meal. And it doesn't have to be a big meal. Like I'm not talking these huge portions. But I do prefer, and I also do intermittent fasting. As someone who has some intermittent stomach issues, it's helpful for me to sort of do a proper shutdown a few hours before I go to bed. Don't eat, rest the stomach, and then wait an hour or two before I wake up. And I try and make it so that I don't have coffee too, because coffee on an empty stomach is not great. But the biggest thing that I started doing is drink at least a couple glasses of water before you have a coffee.
Yes,
that
actually,
I have a good thing for your system.
I have a 500 milliliter rule before I have a coffee in the morning. I mean, I don't always follow it, but I like to try.
Yeah,
and it's good for your system.
Yeah. As much as we like that first sip of coffee and nothing else, that's hard on the stomach, hard on everything.
Yeah. Not good in the system, nervous system.
No.
I actually, one of the things, I am a bit of a all or nothing kind of person. So one of the things I do enjoy about intermittent fasting if I have the will to do it properly, and if I decide on my own to do it, is that I actually don't snack as much. It's I actually don't feel like snacking. I just have to avoid it. I struggle with making the lunches for the next day for the kids sometimes. Because I just want to throw one of the carrot sticks in my mouth just out of habit. But
Yeah.
no, that's a good way to kind of avoid that. What are some other things we can practice? So we talked about looking forward to things, talking about things you're grateful for, looking for ways to keep busy so you don't get stuck into the slothy cycle that we can often get into. What are some other things? We talked about being active. So how about yoga? Anyone here do yoga?
No,
I do
yoga's
not.
good. Yoga's good. Yoga's really good.
Yeah, my partner does yoga. She practices pretty regularly to keep herself in tune with that. She got her 3-year-old doing it. There's this really great YouTube show, I guess I should call it, and it's for kids. And actually, I've walked in on him doing it himself and going through it's really great. So you don't need to be able to go to a yoga studio. I think people probably, there's different folks. Some prefer it at a studio. Some probably prefer being at home. The introverted self, the people who would rather not be around others while they stick their butt in the air, essentially. So, I think there's different ways. So, similar thing, I've complained personally, I got to be honest, about how the gym got closed at work. And that's sort of like an excuse I tell myself and a bit of a filter put in. But I am sure there's 1,000 apps out there that will help you with a home workout, right? Push-ups.
I have one to plug. I'm ready to plug something.
Remember the old days when people just did calisthenics, right? That's like a thing.
Yeah. Or they bought all this equipment. They had the home gym set up. You don't need the home gym set up. Most of us living in cities don't have all the access to the full machines.
That's right.
A lot of things can make
afford
weights.
A gym, if you can't afford yoga studio, it's a great point, Jacob. Some people just can't afford to go to something like that regularly. There is tons of options. Give us an option here, Ruben. You had something you plug? You're looking for it?
Well, we do, because I'm living in the mountains. I'm away from everything, and that's sort of what I love about it. What do we do here? We use Fitness Blender. I've made it as a thing. Fitnessblender.com. They have a program you can either pay for, which is they curate your workouts, which include warm-up and cool-downs. They have no equipment workouts. They have ones with minor equipment, which literally could just be like
interesting.
A brick nearby.
Right, a bag with a couple cans in it or something.
Yeah. But they also have no equipment. They have low impact, high impact workouts. But the videos themselves are all free. What they do charge for is if you want their programs, which is basically just curating their videos into a workout series or program, which can help motivate. They have a great calendar you can check off when you've worked out that day, and it's a great way to motivate because you can look back on the month and go, oh, wow, I really did great last month, or, oh, I could need to pick up the pace.
Right.
But Fitness Blender is great, and I love that it's also free. They basically have made the videos free to obtain and access. And then the premium version is just the curated version in terms of how they organize it and break it down. Wow. And they have a nice little timer in all the videos. And what's weird for new first-timers, they're awfully quiet. They're just talking. They don't put music in their videos, which I love because it's so easy to open another tab and you can have your YouTube or whatever you want, Spotify, with your music of choice. But it's better you put your music that motivates you than they put some music that does not resonate and is probably off-putting, because everyone has their own music that pumps them up and gets them ready. And they're also Washington State. They're a couple from Washington State, so they're more of the Pacific Northwest mentality. They're not like the
feeling, right? You can tell the difference.
They're not Muscle Beach crowd, if that makes sense, sort of the muscle heads.
So that's a totally good option. I think if you look online, there's probably 100 options. And specifically, you can find your own niche, right? Some people like doing the military style stuff. Some people like doing the yoga type stuff, different kind of rounds on that. So it's just plenty of options out there, and there's really no excuse, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just a quick shout out to Jen. Send some super hearts to us on Periscope. Thanks, Jen. That's great. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Fan. Yeah, so that's another one. So keeping yourself busy, lists, gratitude, and working towards keeping active. So I'm going to make a little bit of a commitment. I'm going to try to walk to work twice this week. So can you ask me?
How far is work?
It's about 6.5K, I think. Maybe just a little bit
Okay, that's a nice goal.
further.
That's a great goal.
It's a good
Okay.
walk. Like it's a good start to the morning. So can you ask me about that in the next show? Just ask me if I did it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll be following up on that.
There we go. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Appreciate
Make
that.
make a note
I'll send you my
in my notebook.
I'll say that's right, make a note. I'll send you a coaching fee so you can.
Oh, don't worry. I've already set up the invoice.
Oh,
That's
perfect.
really what I was
Great.
doing over here. Is I was just writing send Mark D invoice. That's all I was writing down, as any pro would. I think also it's important to look ahead in the less tangible sense. Right, start setting goals. How do you want your 2021 to be? Now, obviously, midnight doesn't strike on December 31st, and it's suddenly a new reality. But there are going to be new breakthroughs next year. We're not going to be living this in the same capacity, and we're not going to be living like this forever. This is just a moment in time. It's a really unique moment in time. So, A, how can we benefit from it, having this time, if we want? But also, more importantly, looking forward, how do we want our return after all of this, when we are able to host house parties? What do we want our world to look like? How do you want your life to be, and how do you want that life to be shaped during that time?
Yeah.
But this is a great time to think about it, I think, instead of just immediately jumping in
And
going
build
back
it.
to what we were. Yeah.
And build it. There's some things we can do now, right, to build it. I think that's a good point. I think that's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. And we still can make plans in some ways. There's still ways to safely take weekend trips. I know I'm in California and people are, it's not a great state. California's doing better than many other states right now, but people are still doing lots of weekend trips and managing to do it safely. If you're able financially to do that, think about getting a change in perspective. Take a day trip if you have access to a
That's
vehicle,
right.
just to
Get
get
out.
outside of town. I went to the ocean. I live in the mountains, so to go to the ocean was a couple hours, and it was a beautiful day trip to see sunset at the ocean and listen to the waves. And just coming back, it was re-inspiring and reinvigorating, because you can kind of get lost in your own environment, and it's beautiful. I'm very fortunate to be here and surrounded by the mountains
and the
valley,
outdoors. You
but
just got to get
yeah,
outdoors.
the outdoors
I mean,
is
that's
different.
good
And
for you. Even if it's
yeah,
raining, Vancouver knows this. Like, we got to get out anyway. My partner's really good at promoting that and making sure we do that.
pushing you sometimes when you don't want to even.
Yeah, and in a
That's
good
good,
way.
though.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean that.
no,
That's we all need that. That, like, it's good for you, and it's would I do it on my own? No, but
That's
I know
right.
I also need that kick.
That's right. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
keeps everybody sane, right? It's a great way to go about it.
Oh yeah, I
Jen,
never fully get it till I'm in there, and it's always like,
then
yes, this is the
10 minutes later,
reminder.
you're like,
Yeah,
why was I at home?
yeah, yeah.
Jen
Last 3
says,
weeks.
planning for her 2021, she is putting less 2020 in her 2021.
That's good. 1 less 0. Love it. That's good.
Sorry, I just had to clear my throat there. Yeah, it's interesting when you think back at the end of this 2019, how people were saying, oh, thank God, 2019's over. Oh, all these celebrities passed away. Dun, dun, dun. Little did they know.
Yeah, they were doing the same thing this weekend with Sean Connery, passed away, age of 90, and people are going, "Oh, I can't believe it's Sean Connery." And I said, "Well, he was 90."
That's
I
right.
don't mean to be cold, but that's a pretty good life by all accounts here.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. It's not bad at all.
90 to 100 usually is not a great stretch for most people. I want to be honest with you. I know few people who are like, "Yep, these are the best years." So, he had a good run. And if you're a fan, good. And I've heard a lot of problematic things since, but we also need to stop being so celebrity obsessed. It's
I was going to say,
have these gurus and that sort of.
there's many people passing away. I enjoyed quite a few of his movies, but yeah, I mean, there's lots of people to celebrate life for.
I was hoping you're going to break out your best Sean Connery impression.
Oh no,
You spared us.
no, goodness, no. I don't know.
Goodness, no.
Was he the one who said
Goodness.
shaken not stirred? Was that him?
I
was
think
that a
he was
different-
was that Roger Moore?
It might have been Roger Moore. See, this is why I didn't do it. I have no clue. I would have been like, $1 million. Oh wait, that's a whole different chain of movies.
Yeah, right, that's not even the same franchise.
Right.
Yeah.
Different franchise.
I heard they're trying to shop around the new 007 so they can do a direct Netflix or Amazon release, because the studios are seeing what's happening. And I guess that's what happened with Borat, too, I learned. So that was I watched that, by the way, right after I watched the last debate. So that was a nice counter, watching Borat after the debate.
We watched it last night. Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else on chat see Borat? What you think? What was your thoughts on it?
It
I
got
think
a lot of views that first weekend it came out.
it
Apparently,
did.
it was a good success for Amazon. They paid 80 million for it, though. That's a lot of money for a stream.
It's very much a lot of money. Yeah, and I think everybody probably fled right to Google to figure out who in that movie knew they were in a movie and who in that movie didn't know they were in a movie. I mean, it's pretty obvious at times, but you wonder, right? And it's an interesting concept. He pulled it off again, I think, and they got around some of the, celebrity cursing stuff. Like it's like you can't be Borat anymore because everybody knows who the hell Borat is.
Right. Yeah, that's right. That's and they did a good job of it, I thought. And we certainly need the satire
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
now.
A little comedy, and at the same time, my partner we talked about it. There was absolutely a flavor of, um, like he was trying to accomplish something. There was a bit of a message in that movie. I think he was trying to make some awareness. The movie ends with a go out and vote message at the end. It's I think there's probably it's not just a comedy, I guess I would say.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it was
It was a comedy, obviously,
political
but
satire
that's right. Yeah,
that had a message for sure. One thing I'd like to think about, and I know it seems really far away now, but let's start thinking about our summer.
that's right. Or even
Summer,
a little closer,
spring.
spring. That's
What
right.
does
That
that mean
feeling
for
of,
you? And, they
oh
keep
yeah,
talking that, likely vaccine or something wouldn't be till spring. But that's going to change things. And they said, oh, maybe it will only be effective for 3 months. Great. That's also going to change things. You could thoughts aside on vaccines, and that's not really what we want to go into here. That's going to change our world in the way that we've already seen our world change, but in more ways that are more in the familiar.
that's right.
And
Yeah,
and I don't think it's too early to start looking ahead in terms of even that very elusive goal planning. What's the big trip that you were wanting to do this summer, and is that the one you'd want to do next summer if you could? What does that mean? Is for some it might be I want to land that job. I lost my job. I want to land a job, and what is that job looking like? Let's start really, not just we start with a dream because a dream's important, but then let's consider how it can be actionable because it's
that's right.
all
How to activate it.
very possible. But it's tough out there. I'm not going to deny that it's a challenging environment and it's competitive. But you know what? It won't be the first thing you apply for. It won't be the second thing, most likely, either. You're going to have to keep it up, and you will land that job that you're really wanting, and it's going to have been a positive transition. But for many, it's a challenging time. But through some goal settings and some routine, we'll all get through
Yeah,
it.
yeah, and the whole keep your head up kind of thing. I mean,
Yeah.
that doesn't help people who like can't put food on the table kind of thing. But make goals, make your way towards objectives slowly and surely. I mean, I know people who are taking online courses, some just free courses, learning new skills. Some just to keep sane, but some to build their skill sets. They put their toolbox together so they have new skills.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
what
think
I'm
that's
talking about.
yeah, and I think that's the good stuff. I think that's we're as humans, if we're expanding ourselves in some way or another, we're more prone to staying sane, and I think that's kind of the way it goes, right? So that's really important. I think that's the thing is you got to stay grounded and you got to figure out what your way is, and it's different for everybody, as you know. And I think that's where we have to be kind of coming from is be able to understand that.
No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, to your point, yes, for the people that are struggling to put food on the table right now, these things are not really going to be your focus. I understand that. It's also we can get into survival mode, but also even when we're in survival mode, and I know I've been there, and I know Mark, you've been there before.
Absolutely.
It's important not to lose perspective of that, and still, especially during those times, do what you can to take care of yourself. Because if you aren't taking care of yourself, the challenges that you face in survival mode are going to be that much more insurmountable. You will never be able to move past if you can't just take that pause. Take that 5 minutes in the morning to do some breathing, light meditation. If you're not versed in meditation, there's great apps for that. But take the time. That 5 minutes doesn't mean that that's less jobs you're applying to. That means you're going to be more mentally focused when you get back and start that job search again, or you're getting out there and handing resumes.
Or if you're struggling at work, going to work, or dealing with the children,
going
or
to work, yeah.
whatever it might be, right? This that grounding is so important. Taking
That was
time for
for me.
yourself.
That was for me. I was struggling with work, especially at the beginning, because it was, why are we acting like this is normal? Why are we acting like nothing's changed and we're just going through these motions? And it was like,
Right.
we are dramatically different in how we need to be engaging, not just with each other in the context of work, but like even our customers. I felt like it needed to change. We needed to take a different approach. And now I'm, I've settled into it a little bit, but you know,
I think
it's
that was it
tough.
too. There was I read a really good article on leadership about leadership in COVID and more in the corporate world than others, but I think it probably applies to many other fields of work and experience, not even just work, just leadership in general. And there was sort of like this sense of purpose that came about people, like where you're inside a thing that we need to get through together, and there's this whole aspect
Mm,
that's just a different shift of mind that we don't get to a lot. Some people have jobs that are like that they're exciting, or there's this kind of shift of mind. And then there was the slog of understanding, all right, what do I gotta do next? What do we gotta, how are we gonna change? How are we gonna make things happen? How are we gonna keep it working? How are we gonna keep doing things? And it's like, oh, you get all clustered minded. And then
yeah,
you settle and there's like this sort of plateau, but the cluster mind doesn't leave. And I think that's where we need to really work on clearing our minds out. I'm absolutely experiencing this myself. I want to say guilty of it, but I don't know if we should be guilty of it. But I absolutely am experiencing this myself, where I feel fine, but I'm clouded, right? And like, or I feel fine, but I'm
yeah,
clouded. And I think that clouding brings in this subconscious or underlining depression, or down slope, a different kind of look to things. And I think that's where we need to be aware of that stuff. And that's really, um, it's hard to acknowledge, hard to say, right? It's like, oh no, I can do this thing that's not good for me right now because it makes me feel good, or it gives me a time to relax or whatever. And my partner's been really great about putting that forward to kind of help me with awareness around that. And, that's, I'm fortunate for that. And I hope others have an opportunity to get that kind of exposure. But I think really we need to admit it to ourselves. And that's true anytime, any place. But this is a different thing because there is this kind of um, underlining effect. Even, hey, I've still got my job. I didn't get fired. Everything's going okay. I'm still going to work every day, whatever it might be. But there's still things that are affecting your brain. I'm going to actually suggest turning off the news a little bit, right? Like as we go into fall, I think people should not withdraw from what's happening around them. It's absolutely important, and we need to take action and steps that are engaging and helping the world through what's going on right now. But also constant bombardment of counting how many COVID cases there are and all the other things that go along with it. That's mentally draining. I heard another article, or it was like it was a radio show the other day, and they were asking callers to call in to inform them if they had found places where things had run out again. It's like, oh yeah, let's go looking for, this weird phenomena that happens, that also stresses everybody out. Like everybody laughs, like, oh, toilet paper's out. Ha, it's so ridiculous. Why are people doing that? And then you
mm-hmm.
can go out and buy as much toilet paper as you can find while you're laughing
Right,
about it.
yeah,
And I think that's a really interesting metaphor for the mental state. It's like everything's fine, but I'll have this thought, or I'll feel this way or act this way that I normally wouldn't feel, but everything's fine because we're all doing it.
you're
So
right.
I want to be really conscious about that. I want to put that forward to everybody. I hope someone's listening anyway.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great tip, and I think to that extent, you can get your news daily. But honestly, there's great podcasts that have daily news or even hourly news. You can get it once a day in a 5 to 10 minute
That's right.
digestible.
That's what
Here's the
I'm.
highlights. Stay informed. I
That's a
do
better
agree with you
suggestion.
there.
Yeah.
Um, it
But do you
says
need a
let's stay
daily?
informed, but
I guess
well,
before a vote, you might
some
need a daily. But
well, it's I think big picture, I think there's a lot changing in the world right now, and I think people feel the desire to be informed. So I don't know if we want to necessarily. Would it be better? Then you're more, I think, obsessing about the unknown. I think for many people who might be more on the constant 24-hour news cycle, especially if you have television or even just on the internet, choosing to compartmentalize it into
right,
still getting a daily update,
right.
but really guardrail what that means and how
And I
you
think again,
download
this is
it.
another awareness, right? It's about how are
Yeah,
you are you the 24-hour cycle person, or are you the checking out completely and not hearing anything about it? And you and I are probably somewhere on those ends of the spectrum, obviously, but also probably closer into it than on the far ends of them. So yeah, that's a good point.
That's
So
true. That's true. With the impending election here, I'm more, but at the same time, I'm listening to it half the time going, it's sort of a variation of the same thing every day right now. And I could almost tell you what the news is, even though
and I
before I hear it.
feel that's the same with the COVID updates. I feel like it's the same with, international policy things that are going on. I mean, not that we shouldn't be aware, but do we really need it twice a day? No, I would argue no. Once a day, yeah, maybe if that's what you need, that's fine. One thing I like about Twitter is I have a news feed that I put together, like a collated a bunch of accounts that give news, and I can just scan through it. I don't have to get stuck in the media music, the dooming music or the constant sad words. And I don't know if that's disconnecting or not.
Tracking Hurricane X by the minute.
That's right. Dun, 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 dun. And if I'm living near Hurricane X, yeah, freaking check the news every hour, every minute, whatever it is. But I don't need to hear about that constantly. I'd like to check in because I'm a human and I want to know how people are doing, or if I have loved ones in that area. But I'd rather reach out to them and ask them how they're doing. But if I have to hear about 3 hurricanes and a volcano erupting and all the other things going on, I think that takes a toll on people. And I'm going to say that my personal belief is that we should filter some of that out a little bit, without being ignorant, without being standoffish from what's needed.
Just make sure to keep it relevant. I like to get my news in the morning because for me, I like to go to work, even though I'm working virtually. I like to feel like I'm going in informed on sort of like what are the top issues of the day, how it may impact me professionally, but also just for conversation as people bring things up. So we have a new puppy here, and I think that the puppy might be getting into some trouble. I've enjoyed our show. We're workshopping the show format, so we're going to continue evolving that over the next week or two. I'm hoping to meet with you during the week, Mark, so we can sort of flesh some of this out.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate the time.
Yeah,
it's
always
fun.
It's
been real.
Yeah,
thanks to all
for
those
tuning
who are
in,
still
everyone.
watching, and we'll see you next week.
Have a great week.
Have a good night.